Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm shooting this video basically to answer a question that was sent to me by Brian on the All Experts website, which I'm a member of. I get questions sent there fairly regularly. The sort of thing generally we can answer by just text, but this one was a bit more involved. I've already sent him a basic answer, but I thought I'd do something a bit fuller on YouTube. And that way, if anybody else comes across a similar issue, they might find this useful as well. So the question was, I recently got an Epiphone Les Paul Special Edition on eBay for $60. He's sent me a link to the guitar in question in a store, and it looks like this. He said, I have a bit of cash, not limitless, to upgrade this a bit more, and I'd like your assistance. So far, I have had the frets leveled and polished, neck properly adjusted, GraphTech XL nut installed, and Goto locking tuners installed. So that's a good set of upgrades to begin with. It says I'm now nearing the end of my guitar mod cash and have to choose one of these upgrades. Not sure which is the best move for the money right now. Hopefully you can give me some guidance to what to focus on next. And he sent links to a couple of bridges which he's thinking about installing. One's a Tone Pros and one's a GraphTech. And he's also saying looking to replace the stock humbuckers with affordable pickups because the ones on guitar aren't particularly good, in his opinion. So it can't stretch to something like bare knuckle or Seymour Duncan, but basically we're looking for something a bit better than what's on the guitar at the minute, and also looking to redo all the interior electronics, copper sheet, tape shielding, and that sort of thing. So let's just grab a guitar. Okay, so modifications that he's done so far are all very sound ideas. Machine heads on a budget guitar are often a weak point, so upgrading those to something good is a smart move. The GraphTech XL nut, a very good move as well. I'm a big fan of GraphTech nuts. And now let's talk about what's happening down at the body end. Now the guitar in question has got a combined bridge tailpiece type of affair. This particular guitar is more traditional style in that you've got a separate bridge, like a Tune-o-matic style bridge, and a separate tailpiece. Now the two bridges that Brian showed me that he's thinking about fitting are this style. So immediately he's going to have to look at drilling separate holes into the guitar for the stop bar. It's doable, it's not a trivial thing, and it's one of those things you need to get it right first time. Once you've drilled a hole into a guitar body, you can't undrill it. So you need to make sure that the hole's going in square and it's perfectly spaced, and that's the sort of thing, if you're not experienced, leave that sort of job to a luthier. Now he's already got holes drilled obviously for where the bridge is going to go. But it's not always a given that the screws are going to be exactly the same distance apart, that the mountings are going to be exactly the same size. So when you're buying replacement parts like this, you need to make sure that they're going to fit. It's not a given. Guitars like Fender, Strats and so on, they tend to be a bit more interchangeable. Not always a given, but they are a little bit better. In my experience, the Gibson style replacement parts, there's a little bit more variation, so it's not always given that the parts are just going to fit. And in terms of pickups, yeah, there are plenty of pickups on the market between the really rubbish sounding budget things and the high end like bare knuckles, Seymour Duncan, DiMarzio and whatnot. It's just a case of shopping around, finding something in your budget, and hearing how it sounds and decide if you want to fit it to your own guitar. Certainly one brand that comes to mind for me is Tone Rider. I've seen those for sale through some of the UK like guitar parts websites. Whether or not they're available where Brian is, I don't know, but yeah, there are sort of middle of the road pickups out there. Thing was, I sent Brian a quick response to this question, and then I got a follow-up. Now with this follow-up it gets a bit more interesting. He says, My instructor is getting frustrated because we have to do tuning touch-ups like every 15 to 20 minutes. At each lesson, twice a week, it needs a good retuning. So he's concerned that I'm knocking out a tune while I'm practicing and it's messing up my practice time. I have the tuning app on my phone and I realise it's important that students learn good tuning, but really it's taking lots of time out of my practice and it's really annoying having to stop and check my tuning every 15 to 20 minutes. It gets in the way of the work. So, a couple of things there. The fact that you're breaking off every 15 to 20 minutes during your practice to retune, obviously you've got a problem with tuning, but having said that, taking a break every 20 minutes or so during your practice isn't such a bad thing anyway. It just helps to kind of keep you fresh. If you just plug away, just solidly playing and playing and playing, actually can get to be a bit counterproductive. But that's not the issue. The issue is, why is the guitar going out of tune? Now, I always suggest that friction is the big enemy of keeping your guitar in tune. But the fact that you've replaced the nut with Graphtec nut, that's my immediate sort of place that I would look as a point of friction. So if you know that nut's been well fitted and cut properly for the gauge of strings that you're using, that's probably not an issue. Next thing I might look at is the machine heads, but again, Brian has replaced those, so I don't think those are the issue. Assuming that, again, this is assuming that they've been well fitted and you can trust your luthier to do a good job. This particular guitar, like I say, I've got separate bridge and tailpiece, so there's a potential for friction here. The guitar in question though has got a combined bridge tailpiece, so I can't see why there's any real issues there. He did mention in the correspondence that was going backwards and forwards that the saddles aren't notched on his particular guitar. So it's possible, I guess, that if you're playing really hard, the strings are moving slightly across the bridge and going slightly sharp, and then you're retuning them and then you knock them back and they're going slightly flat or something. I don't know. It could be something to look at. But it's kind of got me thinking, where else on a guitar could you have tuning issues? And what I'm thinking is, are the strings properly stretched? If you get a new set of strings, put them on your guitar and tune up, if you just let that guitar sit, it will eventually go out of tune. There's quite a lot of tension in a guitar string, and once you've got it up to pitch, it will it'll stretch just under the tension that's in the string. And as it stretches, it gets slightly longer, and because it's slightly longer, it'll go slightly flat. So I'm wondering if when you put the strings onto the guitar, you haven't given them a good stretch. I've seen people selling gadgets for stretching strings, but to be honest, just put the string on the guitar, tune it up, and just give it a good old stretch. Tune it back up to pitch, and keep doing that until, after giving it a good wiggle, it doesn't go out of tune. That's a sign that the string's properly stretched. So that's probably the main issue, I guess, that it could be causing you tuning problems. If not, I'm kind of running out of options. I'm wondering though if possibly you said you've had the neck properly set up. I'm wondering if perhaps there is a bit of movement in there, and if the truss rod's not doing its job properly, the neck is kind of bending up this way a little bit. What I would suggest you do is put a capo on the first fret of the guitar and fret the string at, say, the 17th fret, and then measure how far the string is away from around about the 7th fret. That's quite a precise measurement. What you want to use is a thing called a feeler gauge. I'll just get one now and show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is a feeler gauge, or rather it's a set of feeler gauges. Basically, you can pick these up for a couple of pounds or a couple of dollars, I guess in your case, from like an automotive supply shop. Basically, what these often get used for is measuring clearance on spark plugs and things on cars, but they're very, very precise thin pieces of metal, and they've got a measurement marked on, so millimetre, 0.05 millimetre, 0.15 millimetre, whatever. Basically, use a feeler gauge, place it under the string and the fret, and you're looking for one of these feeler things that's exactly the same size as the gap between the string and the fret. Because what I'm thinking is, if you measure that distance and just let the guitar sit for a little while, I'm wondering if the truss rod's not doing its job properly. The tension of the strings is making the neck go like that. If it is, then when you put the feeler gauge in, you may not measure it the second time, you'll find that the gap is bigger. That's a sign that the neck's moving. Or you might find even that the truss rod's pulling the neck like the other way, putting more of a bow in it, and you'll notice that if you measure it, the gap between the string and the fret will be less, and that's the sort of thing that can affect tuning. That's unlikely though. I'm inclined to say that your main problem is likely to be that the strings aren't properly stretched in. But I think this raises an interesting point about upgrading guitars. Like particular cheaper budget instruments and trying to make them better. And it's something I've done myself. I think my second electric guitar was like a Hondo SG copy, so in the 70s thing that I got at a second-hand music store. And it wasn't a brilliant guitar, but at the time it was kind of all I could afford with paper round money or whatever. And I really did like the guitar. And when I started working and I had a little bit more cash, then I started to upgrade it. I did all the sort of things that Brian's done with his Epiphone Les Paul. I put replacement machine heads on. I think I've got a good set of Grovers. I've got a good nut fitted to it. I bought some DiMarzio pickups, excellent pickups, and got the guitar rewired and that. And it was lovely. It was a much better instrument once I'd done that work on it. But what you got to bear in mind is I was still working on basically fundamentally quite a cheap guitar. It wasn't the strongest instrument in the history of the world. It wasn't bad, and it was better once I put the replacement parts in, but it was never going to be as good as like a high-end guitar like a Gibson or even an Epiphone. And you need to think about how much money you're putting into upgrading a guitar. So in this case, you paid $60 for a Les Paul copy. Those Tone Pro bridges are, I think, excess of $100. Set of locking machine heads, I don't know how much they are where you are, but over here, I'm guessing with exchange rate, it would be the equivalent of about $80 or $90. So you're putting lots of component parts in, and you're factoring things like pickups as well. Your parts bill and what you pay a luthier for his time to do the work on the guitar becomes quite an expensive job overall. And then you think, well, what could I get for that amount of money? And you might find there's some other reasonably good guitars, possibly better than what you've been working on for a similar sort of outlay. So sometimes it's you might think, oh, I've got this real bargain, I want to do something with it. But when you look at the pure economics, to be honest, there are better options. Brian, in your case, I think you've kind of committed, you've got the guitar, you've already spent quite a bit on machine heads and so on. You might want to do something with it and kind of continue the project. But if you've got this tuning stability issue and it turns out it is because the neck's not stable, then I think that's the point where you think, I need to walk away from this guitar. It's, if you like, it's too basic, it's too flawed a canvas to be working with, and you need to look to upgrade to something a little bit better. Like I said, it's hard to really form an opinion on the guitar without seeing it. All I've got to go on is what came in the question I got through all experts and the kind of the correspondence we've had in the meantime. Okay, so Brian, hopefully that helps, answers your questions, and anybody else who's working on upgrading a basic guitar, replacing parts and whatnot, hopefully that's a bit of help, inspiration, guidance, whatever for you as well. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, if you go here, You can submit your question and I'll try and get around answering it in a future video. If you like the video, please click like, subscribe, comment, all the various options that YouTube gives you. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in another video next time. Bye for now.